Hi guys, I'm Eric from the sideboard, and today we're going to be running Andrew Jessup's first place victory list of Sultai Energy. He took it to first place in the first week of Ixalan in Star City Games Dallas, their standard open, and did really well with the deck. So we definitely want to run it and see just how we like it. There's a lot of deck techs out there about it, and we're not going to get extremely in depth, but we are going to talk about a couple little things here. The deck plays, your basic energy package, 4 of the Attune with Ether, Blooming Marsh, and Botanical Sanctums, 2 Fetid Pools for a couple cycle lands, 4 Forest because you really need that green mana on turn one, and 1 Island, 2 Swamps. So far I've run the deck a little bit, just getting used to it and practicing it, and land base seems really solid. So if you're going to run this, I really wouldn't tweak the land base out a whole lot. Looks like they've already done a lot of work there, and it really seems to play well. Moving on into the spells at 1 drops, we can Fatal Push, Attune with Ether, or Blossoming Defense. I mean, granted, you're not going to turn one of Blossoming Defense, but it's a 1 drop that fits in really well on the later turns, squeezing some of these other cheap creatures in. So moving on into the creatures, the basics of this deck is the green-black Constrictor deck, and we're going to go into that right here. So of course we're just going to start it out with Winding Constrictor. Great card. You put a +1/+1 counter on something, you get another +1/+1 counter. Long Tusk Cub, great at putting +1/+1 counters on himself. Really good use for our energy. And we do make a lot of energy, and this is our primary source of spending that energy. Our secondary source of spending that energy is to draw more cards, and we do that with Glint Sleeve Siphoner. I am still trying to figure out exactly which lines are the best. I mean, if you have both a Long Tusk and a Glint Sleeve, what's the proper answer? I mean, what third card do you need to have before Long Tusk is the proper play, or what third card do you need to have before Glint Sleeve is clearly the proper play? Most of the time, if I'm looking at a Glint Sleeve, Rogue Refiner, Long Tusk Cub, I'll play the Glint Sleeve or first, and then the Rogue Refiner, and bring in the Long Tusk later to see if I can avoid some abrade damage or something like that, or maybe even try to draw a couple extra cards. However, if I'm holding the Long Tusk and a Winding Constrictor, Glint Sleeve's on the back burner for a little bit. We're going to go for that mass power. So the lines are really tricky on knowing which one to play, and your hand will dictate. So moving on into the turn 3, you're looking at either playing a turn 2 and leaving up Blossoming Defense or Fatal Push or something, or you're looking at Rogue Refiner, which is a great value card. This card's just value all day. And then you have Rishkar, which allows us to still have one of the most powerful turn 2, turn 3s in the game. Winding Constrictor into Rishkar gives you a 4/5 and a 4/4. It's a lot of power on turn 3. Swinging for 4, and then you've got a 4/4 blocker. It's really good on turn 4 or turn 3. Moving on into what's new about the energy deck. We'll go ahead and cover Walking Ballista really quick because he fits in with all the other counters package. It does run 4 Walking Ballista, and anyone who has played Winding Constrictor, you definitely know that these cards are just absolutely phenomenal together. So Hostage Taker. This deck pretty much splashed blue for Rogue Refiner, Hostage Taker, and Scarab God, and a little bit of a counter in the sideboard. So when you start playing Hostage Taker, you're going to learn that this card is extremely powerful. This card it does great things, and we're going to talk about a couple interactions with it that a lot of people might not have noticed. For one, there's no May on this card. If you play this card and there's nothing on your opponent's side of the board, you are about to take one of your creatures. Just want to make sure that is very clear. The the may that you do see on this is you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast that spell. So, I mean, you can get your creature, you can take your creature, you can take their creature, and then you can cast it no matter what color the mana is. However, I've heard people talk about, oh, you can, kill it with the trigger on the stack, things like that. None of that works. If you cause the end trigger to happen before the beginning trigger would happen, then the creature will never actually leave the battlefield. So you can't kill this with the trigger on the stack and expect it to exile and stay exiled. The creature or artifact will never actually leave. That's I just had someone try that in Paper Magic. I know you're not going to try that online, but someone was trying to do something like that in Paper Magic, and I just had to let them know that it just doesn't work that way. That being said, there is one little timing interaction that a lot of people do not realize. If the stack is clear, when Hostage Taker takes, let's say Hostage Taker takes a Rogue Refiner. If the stack is clear when Hostage Taker actually takes it, they do not have a priority to respond until you pass priority. So if you have 7 mana, you cast Hostage Taker, take their 3 mana card, they allow you to put it under the Hostage Taker. At that point, you are then allowed to spend your 3 mana and put Rogue Refiner on the stack before they can even have priority to attempt to kill your Hostage Taker. That alone is slightly powerful. A lot of people don't really understand the timing on it, but as long as there's not something to say exiting the like when this creature, we'll say like Thought Knot Seer, when it leaves the battlefield, that would create a trigger. That would create a trigger that would give them a priority that they could then respond to before you could put the creature on the stack. However, if there's not an ability on the stack to give them priority, you will be able to cast the creature that's under it before they attack, assuming you have the land. So that's the big thing I wanted to cover about Hostage Taker was the misconception, and then the priority or the timing, and then the last card in the main board here is the Scarab God. It only has one Scarab God in the main, and he seems to be enough. This card is just absolutely phenomenal, and then when you start playing him with Hostage Takers, it's even better. So we're going to pull over here to the sideboard. We've got a couple we got a Spell Pierce and a couple negates. I'm running his SCGDALLAS list. Since then, he has been running a list online in his streams where he actually cut a duress for yet a third negate, which is very good. I like that. I like that play. The negate seems to be better in the matchups that we really hurt against, mainly the control matchups. Vraska's Contempt, just absolutely phenomenal card. You're going to bring this in against red deck. Anything with gods, this is definitely the card. Anything with planeswalkers, this is still the card to bring in. Deathgorge Scavenger, man, just a lot of great things to say about this guy. He will save your life against red deck, just eating creatures. Against red deck, you just kill stuff, eat stuff with Deathgorge, gain you those couple extra points of life. He'll get you where you need to be. We have another copy of Scarab God, and then we have a Vraska Relic Seeker. There's some argument to possibly moving this copy of Scarab God to the main board for a second Vraska Relic Seeker. She's really good against white decks that have cast out, other things that have enchantments, stuff like that. We have a really hard time removing those. I mean, artifacts we can normally steal with the Hostage Takers and just play them back, but Vraska gives us a little bit of, I don't want to say reach, but she gives us a little bit of keel. But then again, if you do start ticking her up, making pirates, which do protect her very well, you get to 10, and then all you have to do is swing in with one of those said pirates. It's tick tick boom. putting your opponent's life total at 1 is pretty good. So I definitely, I'm definitely looking at a possibility of maybe dropping one of the blossoming defense, going down to 3 here, and just squeezing in that Scarab God and putting another Vraska in the sideboard. But as of now, that is Sultai Energy. I guess this is the ship that Vraska is sailing. So if you guys like it, give me a thumbs up and a sub, and we'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.